When we think about some of the most iconic engines over the course of history, we often think about performance, reliability, and innovation, and no engine has quite hit this sweet spot as well as the Detroit diesel. This is an engine that for decades has powered everything from trucks and buses to generators and construction equipment. These aren't just engines, they're workhorses, and they are symbols of American industrial ingenuity. And tonight, we're going to be exploring the rise of the Detroit diesel, what made its design so revolutionary, and what allowed it to dominate its industry, and why it remains an iconic power plant even today. Before we do jump in, guys, if you do enjoy these videos, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I make this stuff all by myself and I do the research. I don't use any AI to create the videos, so if you do appreciate them, please let me know by commenting and leaving a subscribe on the video. Now let's first start at the birth of the Detroit diesel. This takes us back to the mid-1930s during the height of the Great Depression. The diesel engine was still relatively new, and European engineers had pioneered the concept, but most diesel engines of this time were quite large, slow and cumbersome. They were perfect for ships and machinery, but ill-suited to vehicles. And this is where we enter Cummins and his contemporaries in the United States. In Detroit, Michigan, engineers wanted to create a diesel engine that was compact enough for trucks and buses, powerful and reliable, and efficient and durable enough for industrial and military operations. Therefore, in 1938, Detroit Diesel introduced its production engine, the Series 71, a two-stroke diesel that would become legendary over the course of the next few years. It was compact, modular and versatile. It was used in high-speed operation to produce power comparable to more large four-stroke engines. And its modular design meant that multiple cylinders could be combined easily, creating engines of any size, from 2 cylinders to massive power plants, 16-cylinder beasts. This was not just an engine, it was a revolution in diesel engine design. And there were many factors that made the Detroit diesel such an iconic engine, one of which was its two-stroke design, as unlike traditional four-stroke diesels, the Detroit diesel engines used a two-stroke cycle, which allowed more power per cylinder, a smaller, lighter engine for the same power output, and a higher RPM band, which meant that the engine could be scaled into many different uses and become even more iconic over time. This made the engine versatile enough for things like trucks and buses, but also for boats and industrial machinery, all without any major redesigns. It's easy to see why this was a very iconic engine. Then again, focusing on that modular system design, this was one of the most brilliant features of the engine. Its modularity meant that engines could be expanded by adding cylinders. Maintenance was also easier because components were standardized and interchangeable, and fleet operators loved the engine's simplicity, as it meant that with its modular design, it was very easy to service without learning entirely new layouts. And then we have arguably the most iconic feature, its reliability and durability. The Detroit diesel engines were known as bulletproof workhorses. They could run for thousands of hours without major overhauls. They were ideal for trucking, public transport, and military logistics. Even when abused, they often kept going. And this is where the engine becomes even more impactful. These engines were exported worldwide. They powered cargo ships and military vehicles and industrial generators. The name Detroit Diesel became synonymous with power, reliability, and American engineering excellence. And all of this comes at a time where the Detroit Diesel was about to become even more legendary, as the rise of the Detroit Diesel coincided perfectly with the timing of one of the most critical periods in American history, World War II. The Detroit diesel engine powered trucks, tanks, and naval vessels. Military planners valued them for their reliability under extreme conditions, making them an invaluable asset. Their ability to operate in desert heat, the Arctic cold, and jungle humidity made them absolutely indispensable. The military pedigree cemented the Detroit diesel's reputation for toughness and quality that continues to define the brand to this day. Now, after World War II, Detroit diesel shifted into peacetime applications. Trucks and buses became the backbone of American commerce. Construction equipment, farming machinery, and industrial generators all adopted the Detroit diesel engine. And as we say, these modular two-stroke engines made scaling simple for different applications. By the 1950s and 60s, the Detroit diesel engines were everywhere. They were on highways powering trucks delivering cargo. They were in buses transporting millions of people, and in boats and ships that relied on their compact high-power engine layouts. The brand became more than just an engine maker. It was a symbol of American industrial capability and ingenuity. And this brings us very well onto why the engine is so iconic. Because what makes the Detroit diesel engine iconic is a number of massive innovations and versatile factors which would cement both the brand and the engine into history forever. The Detroit diesel engine was indeed well ahead of its time. It was two-stroke, modular, and certainly changed the way that engines were going to be built going forwards. It was also extremely versatile, as we covered, powering anything from trucks and buses to boats and military vehicles. Detroit diesel engines could power it all. It also had amazing durability, as decades later, many of these engines are still running. Then there's a global impact, as this had an influence which shaped industries not just in America and the US, but worldwide. It comes also with a factor of cultural recognition. Its sound, its design, and its reputation became legendary amongst engineers, mechanics, and truckers alike. And these Detroit diesel engines were certainly about to map out the future of what diesel engines would look like. Detroit diesel didn't just make engines, it pioneered concepts that influence modern diesels to this day. We're talking about the standardization of parts for easier maintenance. We're talking about high-speed, modular diesel engines for vehicles. Designs that allowed scaling without starting from scratch, engineering culture which was focused on practicality, reliability, and efficiency. And even today, modern diesel engines owe a debt to the principles established and pioneered decades ago by Detroit diesel. Now, it's safe to say that from the first Series 71 to the massive industrial power plants of today, the Detroit diesel left an indelible mark on the world. Its story of innovation born from necessity and engineering excellence and the relentless pursuit of reliability are principles that still live on in engines to this day. These engines may not be as flashy and high performance as certain car engines, but the impact and versatility that they carried made them truly iconic. It powered trucks, military vehicles, ships, and industry. It helped power America itself. Detroit diesel did not just make engines, it built a legacy that mechanics and enthusiasts still celebrate in 2025. So guys, that is a story of the Detroit diesel, a legendary series of engines which are iconic and still remembered to this day. Let me know what you think to the video. It's a relatively short one, but if you did learn something, let me know in the comment section. Again, please do help me out by subscribing, and I hope I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.